I smell the pine trees, I look around for you. Oh, my sweet, sweet old someone, coming through that door. It's Saturday and the band is playing. Honey, could we ask for more? Coming to you live from the Fitzgerald Theater here on Exchange Street in St. Paul, the city of mystery on the upper Mississippi. Produced by Prairie Home Productions, presented by Minnesota Public Radio. It's a live broadcast of a Prairie Home Companion. It's our almost annual joke show. With our special guests, Mr. Spider John Kerner is here with his great jug band, Outdoor John and the Sears Catalog. The father of American folk music, John Kerner, so good to have him with us. And from Australia, a terrific young guitarist named Jeff Lang. A Prairie Home Companion brought to you by Land's End, the people who put a complete line of casual clothing at your fingertips at www.landsend.com. And also by the Sleep Number bed by Select Comfort, the bed that lets you and your companion adjust the mattress firmness to your exact preference, your Sleep Number. Rich Dworsky back here in the shoe band with Dale Mendenhall on sax and clarinet, Sue Scott, Tim Russell, and our two sound effects men today, later to compete for valuable prizes in the semi-annual buzzOff Radio Sound Effects Contest. The standing champion in the chino pants and the vest sweater and the shirt with the slightly short sleeves, Mr. Tom Keefe. And flown in, not at public expense, flown in lavishly on a private Learjet from his home in New York City. Our challenger here in his black pants and his white shirt and little red bow tie. Don't stand too close to that bow tie. Mr. Fred Newman. Two sound effects men on one show. Our annual joke show on a dark, dark day, a day when the space shuttle fell out of the sky. And what a tragedy, one's hearts goes out to it. One's hearts, did I just say? Multiple hearts. One's heart, all of our hearts, go out to people. And at the same time, you think to yourself in the back of your mind, in the front of your mind, you think, maybe I should give a speech. In the back of your mind, you think, no, do the joke show. Life is good. Jokes are part of the good part. Life is good right up to the last moment. And I remember back to my father's funeral when I sat with some family members and somebody said, in this great quiet, just before you go upstairs for your father's funeral, somebody said, Dad always said that the thing in his life he was most proud of was his children. And I was going to say, and I didn't say, and I always will wish that I had said, right at that moment, it's too bad the grandchildren didn't turn out. A missed joke. I know that my dad would have been even more proud of me if I had said that. So you'll probably marry after I'm dead, right?
Oh, yeah, probably, yeah.
You probably live here in the house, right?
Yeah. Yes, probably, yeah.
With him.
Mm-hmm.
You and he will probably sleep in this bed, right?
Well, I guess so, yes, right.
Are you going to let him wear my clothes, or?
No, he's not your size.
Oh.
So about a month ago, I went to my priest here in Amsterdam. I said, forgive me, Father, for I've sinned.
And what is it, my son?
Well, during World War II, I hid a Jew in my attic.
Well, that's not a sin, that's a good deed.
But I made him promise to pay me 20 guilders for every week he stayed.
Well, that's not good, but you did it for a good cause.
Okay. But I have one other question.
What is it, my son?
Do I have to tell him the war is over?
Okay, so my computer has a virus called the PBS virus. Every hour it freezes up and asks for money.
I got one.
Now, the man went to a proctologist, and there on the examining table was a tube of KY jelly, a pair of rubber gloves, and a bottle of beer. What's the beer for?
It's a Butt Light.
Say, how do you make a dog drink? Put it in a blender.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make a dog go meow? Freeze it and then run it through a bandsaw.
Oh, no. How can you tell if a woman is wearing pantyhose? If she farts, her ankles swell.
Good.
I didn't think I could get
Yeah,
to
there you go.
You made it through.
Okay, so here's one. What did the maxi pad say to the fart?
What did the maxi pad say to the fart?
You are the wind beneath my wings.
It's our joke show.
Hello.
Our annual report on American humor. And if you don't like the jokes, remember, we are only journalists. We did not write them. Some good jokes, a lot of dumb jokes, which are my favorites, including the one that was sent to us by a third grader who said, "What's the difference between roast beef and pea soup? The difference is that anyone can roast beef." That's a joke that's going to be a great joke as long as there are third graders in the world. When I was in the third grade, we read all these inspirational stories about Helen Keller, who was blind and deaf and dumb, as we used to say. And then when I was in the sixth grade, we learned all these jokes about Helen Keller.
How did Helen Keller burn her fingers?
How?
She tried to read the waffle iron.
Oh, sure, right. Right.
Why are her stockings yellow?
Yes?
Because her seeing eye dog didn't like her either.
Oh, really? I see. Right.
Why can't Helen Keller drive? Because she's a woman.
Oh.
Hey,
Brace
Bob.
yourselves.
Hey, Bob.
There's a lot more.
Remember when you and I went fishing up north 9 months ago and the car broke down in that thunderstorm and we wound up spending the night at that farm owned by that gorgeous widow? You remember?
Yeah?
You remember that gorgeous widow, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she had that fabulous house, and we slept in the guest wing, and she was over in the other wing, and the next morning we got in the car and headed north and went fishing. You remember?
Yeah.
Well, 9 months later, I get a letter from her attorney.
Oh?
Yeah, did you happen to be up in the middle of the night and go pay her a visit?
I did, yes.
And did you happen to use my name instead of telling her your name?
I'm sorry I did. Why do you ask?
She just died and left me everything.
Doctor, I am so obsessed with my mother.
I see.
I mean, I think about her all day.
I see.
As soon as I go to sleep, I start dreaming, and everyone in my dream turns into my mother. I mean, I wake up in such a state. All I can do is go downstairs and eat a piece of toast.
What, just one piece of toast for a big boy like you?
A Jewish mother joke. An old favorite.
Hey, lady, I haven't eaten in 3 days.
Try, honey. Force yourself.
A Jewish mother joke. A great category of jokes. Jewish mothers are like parole officers. They never let anybody finish a sentence.
Oh, this is a beautiful, beautiful granddaughter you have here, Bella. Beautiful.
Oh, this is nothing. You should see the pictures.
See the picture.
I bought you two shirts yesterday, Heshy. A blue one and a yellow one.
Right.
And this morning I see you put on the yellow one.
Right, Mom.
That's nice, but what's the problem? The blue one isn't good enough.
2 missionaries were captured by cannibals, and they were stuck naked in a big pot of water over a fire, and the water got hotter and hotter, and suddenly one of the missionaries started laughing, and the other guy says, "Hey, what's so funny?"
I couldn't help it. I just peed in their soup.
A few years ago, there were so many anorexia jokes and bulimia jokes, and this year there weren't all that many. Yeah.
What's different about a bulimic's birthday party?
What?
The cake jumps out of the girl.
Sure. Scared them. We got their attention. It was a few years ago, there were all of those Heaven's Gate jokes. Remember that? When those 39 people in San Diego committed suicide. That came soon after the Jonestown jokes. One of the Heaven's Gate jokes was that they were trying to keep up with the Joneses. There were all of those Louise Woodward jokes. Now you wouldn't be able to tell one. You couldn't count on people knowing who she is. There was the great bumper crop of Bill Clinton and Monica jokes. Of course, for a couple years back there, every old Speedy Gonzales joke, every joke about lust, every dirty joke in the history of mankind got recycled, came back from the dead to serve as a Bill and Monica joke. And now, every moron joke, every Polak joke, every blonde joke has been revived as a George W. Bush joke. So, they're just waiting for an opportunity. You think of all of those Viagra jokes a few years ago, they just seem to peter out somehow. Still a few Bill Gates jokes around, bless him.
You know something? If Bill Gates had a nickel for every time Windows crashed, oh wait, he does.
All right. One Clinton joke that I hadn't heard before. Hillary Clinton finds out from her doctor that she's pregnant, and she's furious. Here she is in her first term as senator of New York, and she calls home. She gets Bill on the line, and she just starts yelling.
How could you let this happen? You go and get me pregnant? I mean, how could you? This is all your fault.
Oh, who is this?
That is an old recycled joke. Still good. This is an old recycled Polak joke here. What were George W. Bush's 3 hardest years? 2nd grade. So, Mr. Bush, what's your major goal that you dream of accomplishing?
I dream of being elected president someday.
Yeah, President Bush. Yeah, he was sitting in the Oval Office when a young man walked in the door and said, "Hey, you turkey." The president said, "Do you know who I am? I'm the president of the United States of America. You can't say that to me." The young man said, "Do you know who I am?" The president said, "No." The young man said, "Good."
Oh.
So a speechwriter for President Bush felt unappreciated by the president, so the president came to give his next speech. He looks at the teleprompter and it said, "Some say that this war against Iraq is all about oil. It isn't, and I'll tell you why. Some say that a tax cut will lead to even worse federal deficits. It won't, and I'll tell you why. Some say that my policies favor the wealthy over the middle class. They don't, and I'll tell you why." And then there's this little blank space in the teleprompter, and then, "Okay, George, you take it from here."
One of my favorite jokes is the one about the 2 penguins, a joke that was told to me by a beautiful, beautiful woman aboard an ocean liner heading toward Rangoon years ago. We were in the captain's lounge, and the band was playing, and
Hey, how you doing there? Nice to see you.
she leaned over and she said to me,
So these 2 penguins are standing on an ice floe, see? And one penguin says to the other, "You look like you're wearing a tuxedo." And the other penguin says, "Who says I'm not?"
"That's good, I like
Yeah,
that."
you like that?
Yeah, I love that joke.
Oh, yeah, I just love it when you crinkle your nose that way.
Oh.
Oh, kiss
Well.
me, you fool. Kiss
What?
me and don't ever stop kissing me.
What?
Kiss me, kiss me, kiss me, kiss me.
Anyway, that's a whole story in itself, but that's why I heard that joke about the penguins. And ever since then, I've told that penguin joke sometimes, and I must say that usually people are able to restrain their appreciation for it. They stand there as I tell it, and I come to the end of it, and they're waiting for the rest of the joke. Have you ever had that happen to you? It's kind of awkward. So, one time I told it at this dude ranch. We were off on a trail ride. We were around the campfire. It'd been a long day on horseback. Maybe my timing was better, I don't know, but I told this joke, and these people absolutely fell apart. They went to pieces. They were practically having heart attacks. And the dogs were laughing. The dogs had a great time. The horses were laughing. The sheep were rolling around. The cows were laughing so that milk came out of their noses. For years, whenever I ran into one of those people, I've seen it as a trail rider,
Hey, everybody. Hey,
What?
hey, listen for quiet.
What?
Thank you. Listen, I want you to meet an old friend of mine. Stand up, Eddie.
No,
Come
no,
on.
no, no.
Yeah, I wanted to come up here and tell you this joke. He told a bunch of us a couple of years ago.
Okay.
I'm telling you, this is hilarious.
All right.
This is... It's going to kill you. This is absolutely...
Yes, sir. So then, of course, I tell my joke, and I come to the end of it, and there's this great void, this great abyss, this black hole, this great empty canyon at my feet. You know what it's like, or maybe you don't. And you realize that a joke never bounces the same way twice. It's like playing with a square baseball. Somehow a joke it's a living thing. But I remembered the penguin joke, and I told it once on the radio. And I got a letter from a man who heard the joke, and he drove right off the road. He drove off, missed some chickens, missed a pig who was there, and he ran into this kumquat tree. And it shook all of the kumquats down on him, and also a turkey that had been up in the tree. It was a big moment for him, and he always remembered it. I'm sure that you would too. There were other stories from listeners who heard that joke that time.
My husband was in a coma as a result of swallowing a peach pit, and he lay in bed not talking, and then after the show, we came in, and he said something about 2 penguins standing on an ice floe, and he laughed, and he coughed up the peach pit, and he's been okay ever since, relatively speaking. How could we ever thank you?
Well, I was depressed, and then that wonderful, wonderful joke about the 2 penguins inspired me to go out and buy myself a tuxedo, and I've been feeling pretty darn chipper ever since, thanks to you.
Well, you know what happens when you have a little success? People want to exploit it for all it's worth, and so you find yourself trapped.
Hey, how about a new show, The Penguins?
No.
Yeah, no, 2 wealthy penguins on an ice floe, and at the end of the season, one of them gets voted off.
No.
No, there's a whole line of penguin wear. Birds of the sea, we'll call it.
No, I don't think so. The president quoted my joke in a speech.
It's like a penguin standing on an ice floe. Another penguin says to him, "You look like you're wearing a tuxedo." First penguin says, "Who says that I'm not?" That's what I say to people who don't believe that my economic stimulus programs turning this country around. Who says it's not?
It was quoted on op-ed pages. It was quoted in sermons by ministers.
He said unto him, I look as if I might be wearing a tuxedo or something of a tuxedo nature. And the penguin replied, Who says that I'm not? Think about these words. Who says that I'm not?
People were wanting to get more penguin jokes out of me. I only know the one. Phones ringing off the hook, copiers were running, the fax machines, consultants came and went, and there were planning meetings. And finally, one day, I just couldn't take it any longer. I just walked out. I just walked out the door, out to the parking lot, and I got into my car, and I drove out to the airport, St. Paul International Airport, into the parking ramp. I went up to level 7. Parked there.
Now I'm stopped to Sydney.
Took a plane to Sydney, Australia, and from there I got on a steamship headed south, down to Antarctica. Ship dropped me off this little tiny island, no trees, about 100 yards long, just rocks and ice, alone.
So long, mate. Cheers.
There I was, alone. Put up my collapsible yurt. I tuned in my shortwave radio.
With the BBC World Service. Tonight we pay a visit to the distant archipelago of Rawalpindi for a look at the rare avian species known as the whooping pooper. The whooping pooper is...
I was there in my yurt. I lit up my little camp stove. I put on a pot of ice to melt, and I opened a can of Spam and made a sandwich. The water boiled, and I made some tea, and there I was, all alone, or so I thought, until morning. I looked out the tent flap, and there were these two penguins out there on the ice floe. Two penguins, perfectly friendly little wings down at their sides, standing, walking around, looked pretty smart. Darn it, they kind of did look like they were wearing tuxedos. As the days turned into weeks, the weeks into months, of course, they became my closest friends. Who else did I have? Every morning, they were there. Hi there. Good to see you. How's it going there? You know, I remember that joke I was going to tell you yesterday, and I couldn't remember the joke about the hitchhiker. You know what a hitchhiker is? Or? No. What do you say to a hitchhiker with one leg? Hop in. Huh? And then they told me one of their jokes. It was a good joke, but somehow it wasn't enough for me, having two penguins as friends, even with the BBC World Service, the radio, the spam sandwich, the cup of tea. Just wasn't quite enough. I started to have hallucinations that I was wearing a tuxedo and that those rocks and the waves out there was a kind of audience. Gotta get my old tuxedo pressed. Gotta sew a button on my vest, 'cause tonight I'm gonna look my best. The penguin's back in town. Gotta get a $50 somewhere. Gotta shine my shoes and slick my hair. Gotta get myself a bottomie. The penguin's back in town. I can tell all my pets, my Antarctic croquettes, Mr. Otis regrets. Mr. Otis regrets. Oh, Mr. Otis regrets. Mr. Otis regrets. My whole life has been a joke. Never intended it to be. That's how it turned out. Even after I was rescued by a boat, came in, and was taken back to civilization, flown back to the States, I knew that my life was just a joke, that's all. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
What was that joke you used to tell?
You mean the penguin joke?
Yeah?
Well, come on in, close the door. Have a seat.
All right, thank you.
Do you care for raw fish, or?
No, thanks.
No. Got a cracker to go with it if you want to.
Well, maybe one.
Okay. There were these two penguins standing on an ice floe.
Two penguins standing on an ice floe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going to repeat every line, it's probably going to go slower.
Maybe funnier.
One penguin says to the first penguin, "You look like," or "You look as if." You look as if you might be wearing a tuxedo.
Wearing a tuxedo.
Tuxedo, right. Such a small joke. But haiku are small too. A piano etude is small. The Mona Lisa is not that big. There can be grandeur in a small thing. Even I am capable of grandeur. Who says that I'm not? Ladies and gentlemen, it's such a pleasure to welcome back to our show, the father of American folk music himself, Mr. Spider John Kerner, here sitting in person.
Thanks.
with the guitar. So good to see you. Spider John is here in his capacity as a champion of the great jug band
Battle.
the battle of the jug bands 1 year ago.
That's correct.
Where was that? Where did it take place, John? It was on the West Bank?
Yeah, it's in the
Minneapolis?
Caboose, which is a large bar.
Yes.
It's a bit of a free-for-all, I have to tell you. It's been going on for many years. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
When we got up, we had over 20 people on the stage, and
That was just you and your band.
that's correct.
How
yes.
many jugs out of this 20?
How many jugs?
10, 5,
A couple.
3, 2, 1.
And it used to be in the old days that you were not allowed to rehearse for this.
That's a rule for our show, too, by the way. I assume that you... Anyway.
I was allowed to say, or able to say that not only had we not rehearsed, but I didn't know half of the people that I was playing with.
Yeah.
Then when we heard we were going to be on radio, I collected some of those people, which you see here, and we decided we should maybe try to rehearse, and we tried, but it didn't work.
Good. Good to hear that. And they'll be defending their title tomorrow.
That'll be tomorrow. For those who hear the rebroadcast, they can just get done with that and run right over there.
Oh, how convenient. Okay, please welcome this championship jug band here. You be the judge. This is Outdoor John and
The Sears Catalog.
the Sears Catalog.
Black Dog Blues.
You call me a dog when I'm gone, black dog when I'm gone. When I do get back with $100 bill, hey daddy, where you been so long? My papa, he learned me to gamble. He told me bet on the old deuce and trade. When I do see my last old deal go down, I will bet on some more deuce and trade. Well, yes, and you call me a dog when I'm gone. It's black dog when I'm gone. When I do get back with $100 bill, ain't a daddy where you been so long? And I rolled my dice in a Cuba, ain't I dealt my cards in Spain. When I do see my last old dollar go, I will get on some more freight train. Yeah, yes, and you call me a dog when I'm gone. It's black dog when I'm gone. When I do get back with $100 bill, I'm a daddy where you been so long. All right. And I'm born in old Kentucky. Hey, I'm raised in Tennessee. And any old place that I hang my hat, you know, that looks like home to me. Well, yes, and you call me a dog when I'm gone. It's black dog when I'm gone. When I do get back with $100 bill, on it, daddy, where you been so long? Yeah. And you call me a dog when I'm gone. Ain't a black dog when I'm gone. And when I do get back with $100 bill, hey daddy, where you been so long?
Outdoor John and the Sears Catalog are going to be right back and play you another tune, this championship jug band from Minneapolis, competing tomorrow, Sunday, in the battle of the jug bands. This first half hour of our show brought to you by Powder Milk Biscuits in the Big Blue Box, made of whole wheat that gives shy persons the strength to get up and do what needs to be done. Well, has your family tried them powder milk? Has your family tried them powder milk? Well, if your family's tried them all, you know you're satisfied, and they're the real hot item. Powder milk. Powder milk biscuits. Heavens, they're tasty and expeditious. That's John Kerner. Tell me a joke.
Tell you a joke.
I love that joke you used to tell. You told me it so many times.
Did you ever hear about the Norwegian who loved his wife so much he almost told her?
No. I love that pig joke. The pig, the farmer, the orchard. A pig this good, you wouldn't want to eat him all at once.
That's correct. Yeah.
That was a great joke. You never heard that joke? Oh, yes, of course they did. Play us another tune. Pleasant, you're going to do a spiritual here? Well,
yeah, we're going to do Ezekiel Saw the Wheel. In case you aren't going to church in the morning, a little religion, or if you're listening to the rebroadcast and you didn't go to church, you can make up for it.
Yes, Father John.
Now, Ezekiel saw a wheel within a wheel. Being an amateur astronomy person, I theorized that what he had an enlightenment, and he saw the solar system, which is wheel-like, spinning inside of the galaxy, which is also wheel-like, and that's what the vision was. I could be wrong.
Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel, hey, way in the middle of the air. Little wheel run by faith, the big wheel run by grace. I got a wheel in the wheel, hey, way in the middle of the air. Now some go to church to sing and shout, way in the middle of the air. 6 months later and the wall shouted out, way in the middle of the air. Hey, and Ezekiel saw the wheel, way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel, it was away in the middle of the air. Oh, when the little wheel run by faith, and the big wheel run by the grace of God. A wheel in the wheel, hey, way in the middle of the air. Now let me tell you what a hypocrite will do, way in the middle of the air. He will talk about me and talk about you, way in the middle of the air. And Ezekiel saw the wheel, way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel, it was away in the middle of the air. Oh, when the little wheel run by faith, the big wheel run by the grace of God. A wheel in the wheel, hey, way in the middle of the air. Now one thing, sir, that you can't do, oh yes, yes, you can't serve God and Satan too, way in the middle of the air. And Ezekiel saw the wheel, way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel, it was away in the middle of the air. Oh, and the little wheel run by faith, the big wheel run by the grace of God. A wheel in the wheel, hey, way in the middle of the air. Now one of these days about 12 o'clock, way in the middle of the air, this old world gonna reel and rock, way in the middle of the air. And Ezekiel saw the wheel, way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel, it was away run by faith. The big wheel run by the grace of God. A wheel in the wheel, hey, way in the middle of the air. Now way down yonder in the middle of the field, oh yes, yes. An angel working on a chariot wheel away in the middle of the air, yes. And Ezekiel saw the wheel way in the middle of the air. Ezekiel saw the wheel, it was away in the middle of the air. Oh, and the little wheel run by faith. The big wheel run by the grace of God. A wheel in the wheel, hey, way in the middle of the air. Yes, a wheel in a wheel, it was way in the middle of the air.
That's John Carter. Outdoor John and the Sears catalog. Mr. John Kerner went to the University of Minnesota with me, and as you could tell there from his comments, he is a philosopher. Studied philosophy from Harry Weber and got an A in the course by proving that Harry Weber does not exist. For every philosopher, there is an opposite and equal philosopher.
Say again?
Well, John went out on a date with a young woman, and they sat in a restaurant, and he asked her, "Are you interested in philosophy?" She said, "No." He said, "Do you have a brother?" She said, "No." He said, "If you had a brother, do you think he would be interested in philosophy?" They're just jokes. They're only jokes. It's our annual joke show. They're just dumb jokes. What other kind are there? Our jokes today are new jokes. At least they're new to me, but I don't get out as much as some of you people do, so I've never heard these jokes before. What do you call a woman with no arms or legs on a barbecue grill?
Patty.
Patty, oh. What do you call a man with no arms or legs on a barbecue grill?
Frank.
Okay. How about one who lives in a bush?
Russell.
Okay. A man with no arms and legs, or eggs, or legs, or eggs, or farms hanging on the wall.
Art.
Art, right. And how about one swimming in a pool?
Bob.
Bob. And one in a ditch?
Phil.
Right. What do you call a guy with no feet?
Neil.
How about a woman with one leg shorter than the other?
Eileen.
Mm-hmm. And what if she's Asian?
Irene.
Irene, sure. I love those jokes. I love those jokes, and I guess that's why they say psychoanalysis is easier for a man, because when it's time to go back to childhood, we are already there.
Oh, I don't know. Gosh, after 12 years of analysis, I finally was able to get in touch with my emotions and break down and cry.
Well, what happened?
Well, one day my analyst looked at me and said, "No hablo inglés."
You're in perfect health. You'll live to be 65.
But, Doctor, I am 65.
See, what did I tell you?
Doctor, I can't feel my legs.
Well, that's because we had to amputate your arms.
Oy, oy, oy. New jokes new to me. Maybe you've heard them, but you know, I don't get around. I have no social life. This show is my social life. Jokes like this one.
Copy editing is a very stressful line of work. Every time one of us misses a period, we get really nervous.
I never heard that joke before.
Hey, there was a robbery at the public radio station.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the thieves got away with $25,000 in pledges.
Yeah. And they opened the safe with their toes so they wouldn't leave fingerprints.
Oh, really?
So you lied to me. You told me your father was dead when in fact he's been in prison all these years.
Well, I don't call that living.
When he shot a priest?
It was a white-collar crime.
Why did the man stop farting?
He ran out of gas. So why did the golfer wear 2 pairs of pants?
I don't know.
In case he made a hole in one? Anybody?
Why did the composer only compose in bed?
He was writing sheet music.
Yep.
Why'd the toilet paper roll down the hill?
Because I wanted to get to the bottom. What's long, brown, and sticky?
A stick.
A stick, right.
According to Sigmund Freud, what comes between fear and sex?
Between fear and sex, fünf.
So, why does an archaeologist make a good husband? Because the older you get, the more interested he is in you. Did you hear about the exhibitionist who was going to retire? Yeah. Well, he changed his mind. He decided to stick it out for one more year. So, what do Alexander the Great and Winnie the Pooh have in common?
Alexander the Great and Winnie the Pooh. They have the same middle name.
No.
An elephant
Yes?
was walking through the jungle when he saw a turtle sitting on a log, and he said, "Hey, you're the same turtle who bit me 45 years ago." And he kicked the turtle, and flew 100 feet and bounced off a tree and right into the river. And a giraffe said, "Wow, you got quite a memory." And the elephant said, "I have turtle recall."
How do you fix a broken tuba? With a tube of glue.
Sure, of course.
You go to the ballet and you see girls dancing on their tiptoes. Why don't they just get taller girls?
I don't know. Say, I went to buy some camouflage clothing the other day.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it.
All new to me. Never heard these before.
So, honey, if you had to do it all over again, would you still marry me?
I guess so, if I had to.
The secret of our marriage is that my wife worries about the little things like what money we should spend on what and what we should do on the weekends. And I worry about the big things like energy policy and Canada and NATO, that sort of thing.
Say, my wife came home the other night, told me to take off her blouse. Then she told me to take off her skirt. And then she told me never to wear her clothes again.
You children maybe should go upstairs right now. Tell that pigeon joke. I love this pigeon joke. You're going to love this chicken. This is going to kill you, this pigeon joke. You're going to love this. It's going to lay you low.
Two pigeons make a date to meet on a ledge on the top of the First National Bank building.
Ledge on the
One pigeon gets there on time, and the other one is about an hour late. It was such a nice day, she decided to walk.
Maybe you didn't tell it right. Maybe it's just timing. We're going to do some man walked into the bar jokes in just a moment, but here's a man. He's going to walk into the bar with his guitar, Mr. Pat Donahue.
Well, now wake up, mama, turn your lamp down low. Said, wake up, mama, won't you turn your lamp down low? Where'd you get the nerve to drive a good man from your door? I once had a woman, she was the sweetest thing I've ever seen. Yes, I once had a woman, the sweetest thing I've ever seen. But she treated me like a king and she was a doggone queen. You're a mean old woman just to treat me this way. Yes, a nasty old woman just to treat me this way. When I leave you this time, baby, I'm gonna wait to stay. Well, my mama run me reckless and my daddy just drove me wild. Yes, my mama run me reckless and my daddy drove me wild. I ain't too good looking, but I'm somebody's sweet angel child. Well, my mama had him and my sister had him and my daddy had him and my mama died with him. I woke up this morning and my family had the baby blue. I looked over in the corner, my grandma had him too. Well, sister, tell your brother, brother, tell your cousin, cousin, tell your uncle, uncle, tell your nephew, nephew, tell your friend I'm going to the country. Baby, don't you wanna go? If you don't come with me, I might bring one or two more. Yeah, Big Eagle, that's the man I know you would not stop. You ought to seen all the firemen when they got the border hot. Gonna reach over mama and hand me my traveling shoes. I'll let you know right now that I got these Statesboro blues. Oh, let me know right now. sister, tell your brother, brother, tell your cousin, cousin, tell your uncle, uncle, tell your nephew, nephew, tell your friend I wanna touch you. Baby, don't you wanna go? If you don't come with me, I might bring one or two more. Yeah, Big 8, that's the man I know you would not stop. You should have seen all the firemen when they got the border hot. Come on and reach over my mind. Hand me my traveling shoes. I let you know right now that I got these Statesboro blues. I let you know right now that I got these Statesboro blues.
Mr. Pat Donahue and the Shoe Band, Statesboro Blues. Doing our annual joke show here today. Doing new jokes, new to me anyway, but gosh, those old jokes, weren't they great? Such great things. That pig joke. Remember that great golf joke? Remember
No.
that one, huh?
Hit the ball, drag Charlie. Hit the ball, drag Charlie. That one, yes. Yeah, right.
That was a great one, the pig joke. And the Ole and Lena joke where Ole says, how about if I drag her over to Oak Street and you pick her up there? Huh? Wasn't that a good one?
Kind of a funeral joke.
The Viagra joke. I guess that explains the berries then?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, he's got a rise out of me.
We don't hang out with the same people here, do we?
No, I guess not.
How about the joke, the confessional joke? Remember that? Where the two, huh? You remember that? There's not any toilet paper on this side either?
Oh.
Huh?
That confessional.
Yeah.
Right. That's good. Yeah.
The one where the doctor sends the dying man to go have a mud pack. Will it cure you? No, but it'll get you used to being with dirt.
That's good.
Huh?
Okay.
Hey, the one where the guy goes to the hotel and there's only one room left and he has to room with a guy who's a bad snorer. And
That's right.
What does he do?
He walks over to the guy and he gives him a kiss on the cheek and says, "Good night, sweetheart." And the guy stayed up all night watching him.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Then there's the one about that funeral procession.
Right, that's kind of a girl joke. Right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the two hearses and the long line of women following, and the young woman says, can I borrow that dog? And the old woman says, get in line.
Sure, right.
Yeah, remember that one? Yeah, that was good.
And the Ole and Sven and the box of Tampax.
Oh, yeah, on the
remember?
label there it says, oh, look at this. We can go dancing, ride horseback, go swimming. Holy
right.
cow.
Holy cow.
Right there, it says on the box.
Yes, it says it right there on the side of the box. What do you get if you cross a Jehovah's Witness and a Unitarian? You get somebody who goes around knocking on doors and isn't sure why.
Yeah. How about that one about the Jewish grandmother and the flasher, and then she looks at him and she says, "You call that a lining?"
Yes. And the joke about, is God an electrical engineer, or is God a mechanical engineer, or is God a civil engineer?
Yeah,
Civil engineer.
Well, only a civil engineer would put a waste disposal site in the midst of a major recreational area.
Right.
Right. Oh, yeah. And the one about the wife sitting up at night with her husband who's dying, and he wants to make love, and she says, "Look, I've got to get up in the morning. You don't."
Sure.
You remember the grandma whose grandson eats all the peanuts in the candy dish?
I do.
And she says, "That's okay. Since I lost my dentures, I only suck the chocolate off of them anyway."
That was a great
I like that.
Yeah, and then there's the one about the doctor. It says in the bad news is we amputated your legs. The good news is that the man in the next bed offered to buy your shoes. So smile.
Some of these genres of jokes. I wasn't going to use the word genre, and there, I just did. Isn't that something? The guy who walks into the bar and the light bulb joke. Both you keep hearing new ones.
Yeah. Hey.
Either I don't get out much, or a dog walks into a bar.
Hey, guess what? I'm a talking dog. Ever seen a talking dog before? How about a drink for the talking dog?
All right, the toilet's right around the corner.
Okay. How about a man walks into a bar with a newt on his shoulder, and he told the bartender that the newt's name was Tiny.
Sure.
And the bartender said, "Why?"
Yeah.
"Because he's my newt."
Okay, sure. Okay.
Simple joke.
Yeah. Okay, so this baby seal walks into a bar, and the bartender says, "What'll you have?"
Yeah.
And the seal says, "Anything but a Canadian club."
So you heard the one about the dyslexics who walked into a bra?
Yeah, oh yeah.
So Pickle walks into a bar, and the bartender says, "Hey, you're a pickle. What are you doing here?" And the pickle says,
"Well, for starters, I'm celebrating the fact that I can walk."
"Yeah,
yes, sir. Sure.
So a priest, a rabbi, a lawyer, a redneck, a blonde, and a dog walk into a bar. And the bartender looks up and says, "What is this, some kind of joke?"
A man walks into a bar and says to the bartender, "Do you have any Campari?" And the bartender says, "Do I have Campari? Look down here." So he takes me down to the basement. There's 100 cases of Campari. "Boy, you must sell a lot of Campari." "No, but the man who sells me Campari, he sells a lot of Campari."
A man walks into a bar and he says, "I know the sign says no smoking, but would you mind if I smoke a cigarette in here?"
That's okay with me. Just make sure you put the lit end into your mouth.
Okay. Kind of an anti-smoking joke.
That actually makes sense.
Man walks out of a bar, and this is a whole other genre of joke. A man walks out of a bar, and he gets in his car, and a policeman comes over.
"Sir, your eyes seem to be bloodshot. Have you been drinking?"
"Well, officer, your eyes seem to be glazed. Have you been eating donuts?"
It's our annual joke show, Such As It Is. And in the first part of the next hour, we are going to bring up our two sound effects men, the champion and the challenger. And we'll have our buzzOff radio sound effects competition. Excitement is building here on stage.
A dark night in a city that knows how to keep its secrets. But on the 12th floor of the Acme building, one man is still trying to find the answers to life's persistent questions. Guy Noir, Private Eye.
Hey there, Guy. How's it going?
Hey, Jimmy.
Ooh, cold one out there, huh?
Oh, boy, I'll say. But I got to get out, you know. We can't sit in the office. You get claustrophobia.
Oh, I didn't know you were claustrophobic.
Oh, yeah. Keep it a secret. You know, I'm sort of a closet claustrophobe, I guess.
Interesting. Well, what can I get for you? How about a beer today? Huh?
I don't think so. What's that beer over there with the picture of the guy on the side of the can?
Oh, that's a new thing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, if your husband is missing, you have his picture put on beer cans.
Oh, I see. No, I think I'll just have a soda pop, orange or grape or something. Surprise me.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I had an uncle who was claustrophobic.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, went to college but didn't do well.
Yeah.
Closest he ever got to a 4.0 was his blood alcohol content.
Yeah, well.
Had to go live in Kansas for his claustrophobia. Yeah. He peed in a wheat field once and he was arrested for going against the grain.
Yes, I see.
Yeah, he used an extract of wheat to make this ointment he came up with.
Yeah?
Preparation G.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he came close, didn't
Almost
he?
got
Yeah.
rich, didn't he? Yeah. Then he just got old.
Yeah, well.
Sad story.
Happens to the best of us. I don't know. The way I look at aging is, you know, today I beat my own previous record for a number of consecutive days I've been alive. That's how
Well, that's... oh, excuse me just a second here.
achievement.
5 spot, Jimmy speaking. Yeah? Yeah, he's sitting right here. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, see ya. Somebody on their way over to see you, Guy. Somebody who's pretty upset.
Oh, gee, thanks a lot. Who is it? Was it Rico
No.
or Tony?
No, sounds like the parents of a college kid.
Oh, well, got a lot of those around this time of year, I tell you. Want me to go hang around campus and see if their kid is hitting the books or hitting the video games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I was young myself. I did it all when I was young. I drank. I used drugs. Now I get the same effect just standing up real fast, you know?
Yeah. I think I hear somebody commenting.
Huh?
Uh-oh. Look out. Here they come now. These are the people I was telling you about.
I'm sorry, but I just can't believe this is happening to me, my own daughter.
Thanks for seeing him, Mr. Noir.
I
Thanks.
can't believe she would do this. I mean, after all we've done for her.
Yes.
Yeah, we were both pretty torn up over it, Mr.
Right.
Noir.
What seems to be the problem here, folks?
It's this.
Yeah,
Yes.
we found it in our
What?
computer, Mr. Noir.
Oh, this. My Life as an Unwanted Child by Lindsay Larson. Huh. Appears to be some sort of a memoir here, huh?
She wrote it for her creative writing class.
Oh.
Yeah, listen to this, Mr. Noir. My father sat down at the table, and in his green suit, he looked like a hefty bag full of dead leaves.
Yes.
He was hung over again. His nose was runny, and his nose hair glistened in his nostrils. And his eyes were tiny as pinholes in one of those little boxes you're supposed to put a pinhole in and look at a solar eclipse through. One look at him, and I was practically ROFL. Well, what does ROFL mean? I don't even know that.
I don't know. Jimmy, what does it mean?
It means ragu of frog legs.
Oh, it's a kind of a... It's a kind of a dish, a French
Cruel
dish.
things. I mean, she
What?
makes fun of our home. She calls it hell with designer lighting, and my cooking, and the way we dress, and our collection of Beatles albums.
Yes.
Okay, she quotes me as saying, the only thing I have in common with my husband is that we were married on the same day.
Yes.
No, I never said that. I never said that. And then she says the reason I never farted
Yes.
was that I never closed my mouth long enough for the pressure to build up.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know. That's just too much.
well, I can see, it'd be painful for anybody to read that about themselves. But where was this published, this
Well,
memoir?
it wasn't published. It was turned in as a creative writing
Well,
assignment.
Well, there you are.
Well,
Wait. She describes me as if I were some kind of lush. She says,
What?
one thing I learned from watching my parents is that the reason God created alcohol is that so ugly people can have sex too.
I mean, is that
That's
a nice
cold.
thing to
That is
say
cold.
about your parents?
Get these folks a drink here.
Okay.
Jimmy.
Yeah, you know, as the drunk said as he leaned over the toilet, 2 beers coming up.
Okay, right. Never mind that. Breathing too many fumes here, don't you?
Yes.
Listen, don't worry about an unpublished memoir, whatever this is. I mean, it means nothing. It's just writing, Just let it pass. Tomorrow will be nothing. Who's going to read it? Nobody's going to read
Well,
this. So.
we read it. I mean, we read it, and the words will not go away.
Oh.
I mean, listen to this.
What?
My mother had an eerie, surreal quality, like when you wake up in the middle of the night and turn on the TV and there's Jeopardy. We hardly ever spoke to each other in a meaningful way, IMHO. We were ships in the night, in 2 different oceans, and whenever I was with her, my thoughts whirled in my head like underwear in a dryer without cling-free.
Well,
Huh?
certainly has a gift for words.
Yeah, definitely.
Metaphor.
And she
yes.
said that I gave myself bubble baths by eating beans for dinner.
Well,
Please.
I don't know. I mean, what do you want me to do here,
Well,
folks?
it was her boyfriend who gave her these notions. We want you to find him.
She brought this jerk home to meet us.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, honey, couldn't you have found somebody nice? And she said, oh, mother, if he wasn't a nice person, why would he be doing 500 hours of community service?
Well, listen, people in Minnesota write memoirs. I mean, on these cold winter nights, what else is there to do? So remember, just remember it in the future. There's a potential memoirist in everybody you meet. Every time you go out for dinner with people, remember this might be in writing someday. And if it is, you are not going to be the one with the witty one-liners. No, you are going to be the one who's yawning with food in your mouth. So don't say anything you wouldn't want to see in print, and don't chew with your mouth open. That's
Well,
simple.
I suppose you're right.
Of course
I don't
I'm
know.
right. But this story here on page, 14 here of your memoirs, is this true about you having a religious experience?
Wait,
sir?
what religious
It's on
experience?
14 right here. It says that when you got up at night to go to the toilet, God turned on the light for you and turned it off when you were done, and you discovered you'd been peeing in the refrigerator.
Oh, that's not true.
That's not true?
Not true. No, it wasn't the refrigerator. It was the oven.
The oven.
A dark night in a city that keeps its secrets, where one guy is still trying to find the answers to life's persistent questions. Guy Noir, Private Eye.
Sue Scott, Fred Newman, Tim Russell, and Tom Keith, Rich Dworsky at the piano, the shoe band. We're going to pause, take a brief intermission here, and then be back with more of our annual joke show and John Kerner and his jug band. And a fine young guitarist from Australia, going to come up, Mr. Jeff Lang. This man is walking by the insane asylum, and he hears the inmates inside, and they're chanting, 13, 13, 13. And he's so fascinated. He walks up to the door, and he puts his eye to the keyhole, and somebody pokes him with a sharp stick, and the inmates start chanting, 14, 14. It's the Prairie Home Companion coming to you live from the Fitzgerald Theater in St. Paul, Minnesota. Welcome back to the second half of our live broadcast of a Prairie Home Companion, Mr. John Kerner and his jug band. With us, Jeff Lang on guitar, and the great buzzOff annual radio sound effects contest between Mr. Fred Newman and Mr. Tom Keith. Ellie and Mindy are here. Wish a happy 30th birthday to Matthew Kopp. Your surprise party is scheduled for 8 o'clock tonight. So, look forward to that. Almost 60th birthday to Plunky from Risty and Greg. Sorry you couldn't join us here. Happy 51st birthday, Glenn, the old get older. Happy 96 to Myrtle Zunker of Eau Claire. You go, girl, say Ken and Marilyn. And happy 10th anniversary. Love, love, love. From who? I can't read your handwriting. Page, pays, parse, praise. Dennis and Grace are here from Gillette, Wyoming, the Razor City, celebrating their 26th anniversary. Happy birthday to Valerie from David and Greg and Luann. Happy birthday to you, Eileen, from your family in Wisconsin and all over. Colin, 18th birthday. How many tuba players does it take to change a light bulb? 4. 1 to change the bulb and 3 to complain about how high it is. Kevin Swenson, happy big 5-0 to you. In Pittsburgh, only another 50 till the school loans are paid off. That's from your daughter, in case you didn't know. To Hans and Courtney in Hawaii, congratulations on your engagement. Happy 54th wedding anniversary, Mom and Dad in River Forest, Illinois. Love from Dan and Mary Joan. Sean became a chef. Congratulations to you from your parents. They're so happy. Happy birthday to Kelly and Molly from your brother Mike. You're the best things Mom and Dad ever brought home aside from my guitar. Will and Jane are here from Houston, Texas. So glad to have them. Pat and Alan and Sugar all here celebrating February in St. Paul. JL, it's been a month and my parents still don't know we're dating. Hello to Sister Terry from your brother. Corey Doctor, want you to know that after all these years, says TJ, I still think about you every day. Hope life is treating you well. Travis sends out a Valentine's Day to his beautiful wife, Megan, Minnesota girl, a Montana boy. Johnny Johnson sends his love to Jeannie Forrest. Johnny Johnson in the Navy Reserve. He'll be recalled soon. Sorry I can't tell you in person that I love you. Stephanie in Atlanta. Hello from David. You drive me crazy sometimes, but I love you. Hello to all the folks back in Beloit, Wisconsin, from Penny and Tom. You wouldn't believe the deals they have on snowblowers here. Frank and Roxanne are with us, and say hello to Kathy in Lethso, South Africa, and wishing Donna Jean happy and healthy knees, say Rodney and Phyllis. Grandma and Grandpa in Foston, Minnesota, got a B+ in my math test, but still have trouble with English. Love to you from Grant. Blonde jokes. Blonde jokes. There still are new ones. There still are blonde jokes I haven't heard. In Minnesota, we sometimes tell these as Iowan jokes. Iowans, I suppose, tell them as Missourian jokes. I don't know. Kansas jokes. Everybody's got somebody to pick on.
There's this one about the blonde that walks into the hair salon with a pair of headphones on. Stylist says to her, well, you got to take these off for the haircut, so she does. Just a moment later, she faints. Well, he picks up the headphones, and there's a little voice saying, breathe in, breathe out, in, out.
So a blonde walks down the street and sees a banana peel ahead, and she says, here we go again.
Yeah, a blonde wanted to buy personalized license plates, but she couldn't afford them, so she changed her name to JKM 345.
A blonde and her father walking down the street, and the father says, look, a dead bird. And the blonde looks up and says, where?
Yeah. Blonde jokes. Ole and Lena jokes. These are not the same as blonde jokes. This is a whole special little category. These are a Midwestern subset of American humor. So if you're from the Midwest, you could just take this time to go empty the dishwasher or something, because you've fixed yourself some lefse, because you probably already heard these jokes. Ole was visiting the Vatican, and he went to see the Sistine Chapel, and the tour guide told him that it took 4 years to paint the ceiling. Ole said, yeah, I used to have a landlord like that myself.
So, Ole, I hear that Ole Jr.'s gone to college.
Yeah, that's right, Sven.
So what do you think he'll be when he graduates?
Probably around 35, 40.
Ole was sitting in a coffee shop in Hinckley when a man he recognized walked in.
Hey, Larson, boy, look at you. When I knew you, you had a head full of hair, and now you're bald and you shaved off your mustache and you're wearing glasses.
I'm Benny Carlson.
And you changed your name, too.
Ole was dying, and on his deathbed, he looked up and he said, "Is my wife here?" Lena replied, "Yes, Ole, I'm here next to you." So Ole asked, "Are my children here?" "Yes, Daddy, we're all here," said the children. "Are my other relatives also here?" And they say, "Yes, Ole, we're all here." And Ole says, "Then why is the light on in the kitchen?"
Oh, yeah. So did you hear about the skeleton they found in Wilmer last week?
No.
Yeah, it was the winner of the 1965 Sons of Norway hide-and-seek contest.
Oh, they take that seriously, yep. One day, Sven and Ole, they were hunting, and suddenly this man come running out of the bushes, and he was yelling, don't shoot, I'm not a deer." And Ole raised his gun, and he shot him down dead. And Sven said, "Ole, why did you shoot that man? He said he wasn't a deer."
Oh, well, I thought he said he was a deer.
So, Ole, how come you're sitting in the living room with no clothes on?
Well, nobody's going to come to visit me, so what does it matter?
But you got your hat on.
Well, you never know.
So, Ole, I see you burnt your ears pretty bad. What happened then, eh?
Well, I was ironing a shirt, and the telephone rang, and I put the iron to my ear.
Oh, for damn. What
Yeah.
about the other ear?
Well, then I went to call the doctor.
Sure.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear of Jim's passing, Mary. My deepest condolences to
Ah,
you.
thank you, Father.
It's been a hard time.
Yes, Father, that it is.
And did he have any last requests?
Yes, Father, that he did.
And what was his last request, Mary?
Well, he asked me to please put the gun down.
Hey, that's a nice earring. How long you been wearing an earring?
Well, ever since my wife found it in the car.
Yep.
What was that for?
That's for the piece of paper in your pants pocket with the name Mary Lou on it.
That was from 2 weeks ago. I went to the races. Mary Lou was the name of one of the horses I bet on. Oh, what was that for?
Your horse called on the phone today.
Before I die, darling,
Yes.
I have to confess something to you.
I know all about it, darling. That's why I poisoned you.
Hey.
Yeah, okay. The HMO manager died. He came to the pearly gates, and St. Peter said, "You can come in for up to 3 days, and then you go to hell."
Well, HMO jokes. They're still with us. They'll be with us for a long time. I love this joke.
I'm dying.
Yes, Dad.
Somehow I never expected this to happen to me.
I know, Dad.
I'm not ready to go.
Where do you want to be buried, Dad?
Surprise me.
I love that joke. I like that joke a lot better than you like that joke. That's all right. Light bulb jokes. It's amazing when you scout around, still find new ones. The solid perennial of American jokedom. They're just new ones every year. Eventually, I suppose the light bulb joke is bound to burn out, and somebody will have to change it. To what, I don't know. But for now, it's still up there.
How many dyslexics does it change to take a light bulb?
So, how many menopausal women does it take to change a light bulb? 2. It just does, okay?
Okay, all right.
How many Republicans does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
1 to mix the martinis, 1 to call the electrician.
Sure.
How many managers does it take to change a light bulb?
Yeah.
None. They like to keep employees in the dark, of course. And how many assistant managers does it take to change a light bulb? That would be 3. 2 to find out if it needs changing, 1 to tell an employee to change it.
Sure.
So, how many poets does it take to change a light bulb?
1 to look at the bulb and think of his mother, and 1 to stand at the window and watch the rain.
How many Americans does it take to screw in a light bulb in Afghanistan? Only one, but he does it from 30 miles away using laser targeting.
How many psychoanalysts does it take to screw in a light bulb?
How long have you been having this fantasy? How many skateboarders does it take to change a light bulb? One, dude.
Yes. How many French horn players does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
Well, just one, but he'll spend 2 hours checking it to make sure it doesn't leak.
Sure. Kind of a French horn joke, actually.
How many deadheads does it take to change a light bulb? 1 to change it, 2,000 to take pictures of it, and 10,000 to follow it around until it burns out. Yeah.
How many singers does it take to screw in a light bulb?
18. 1 to do it and 17 to be on the guest list.
How many liberals does it take to screw in a light bulb?
5. 1 to screw it in and 4 to screw it up.
I knew you'd like that joke there. What do Catholics say when they change a light bulb?
Glory be unto the Father and unto the Son and into the Holy Ghost.
How many charismatic Pentecostals does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
Well, it's hard to tell. All their hands are in the air already.
Okay. How many Unitarians does it take to change a light bulb?
Well, we believe that incandescent, fluorescent, tinted, or three-way are equally valid paths to light, and if in your journey you have felt the need to change your light bulb, we are holding a light bulb service on Sunday in which you're welcome to recite a poem or perhaps perform a dance about luminescence.
It's our annual joke show. New jokes, new to us anyway. We'll tell some more. I want to bring up this fine guitarist. Join us here out on stage. This guy got such a tremendous, tremendous recommendation from our technical crew, the guys in the back of the theater with the headphones on. Over the past few months have been asking me, when are you going to have Jeff Lang back on your show? Something about a good, clean, acoustic guitarist appeals to an engineer. He's from Geelong, Australia. Learned by ear, listening to all the right people, Roy Buchanan and Eric Clapton and Ry Cooder. And such a pleasure to have him here in our country. How long are you going to be here in our country, as we say?
6 weeks on this trip.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Where are all you going off to?
Well, doing a lot of the Midwest, going down to Tennessee, a little bit of Canada.
Yes.
And then back to where it's, the whole country's on fire back home, so.
I see. What's going on back home?
A lot of bushfires.
I see.
110 degrees, country like a tinderbox.
This is in the north?
This is all the way down the east coast.
Oh, really?
It's bad.
Oh, dear. Well, I'll have to give my friends in Sydney a call or see how they're doing.
Yeah.
I don't call them very often because I never can figure out what time it is there.
You can't understand a word they say either.
Well, no, I can, but I just never know what time it is in Sydney. What time is it in Sydney?
I have no idea either.
Right.
I can't help you.
I'm sure they know. Please welcome Mr. Jeff Lang here.
I still see you, and I still breathe you in the cruel night air, in every girl's hair, in a headlight's glare, in a mirror stare, whenever I might need you, I still see you. I still see you. Do you see me too? In an overflowing drain or in a lipstick stain. Whenever you feel pain, we never could abstain. Even when you don't want me to, I still see you. I still see you. If I could be you, well, I'd wipe my face away without a trace from that cold place. Keeps your soul encased in the leeches that bleed you. I still see you. I still see you, and when I can't reach you, well, I still see your dark eyes, pushing to be told lies, pushing cracks in smiles, chilling across the miles that separate we two. I still see you. Thanks a lot, everybody. It's very good to be back here again in the great Midwest. Did you ever hear about the dyslexic blues man? Went down to the crossroads in the dead of night, sold his soul to Santa. The guy goes into a doctor's office wearing nothing but a piece of cling film around his waist. Doctor says, "I can clearly see your nuts." Anyway. A lone car stopped beside me as I walked home that night. I ignored all the warnings a young lady hears. By the time that I knew what he had on his mind, it was too far for screaming and too cold for tears. Too far for screaming and too cold for tears. I waited 3 months for my story to tell, as the stairs fell on me when I started to show. My mother said she wasn't surprised that I fell. My friend said she never hitched rides home before. We never seen her hitching a ride home before. I see all the girls down at the hair salon. They're thinking I don't know which man got me this way. But the boys at the bar all know how they got on. Still I only know him by face but not name. Never since seen his face and I don't know his name. Solutions opposed with a whispering fear. How those doctors have no morals, and besides, it'd cost you too much if you like living here. With doors open and courts closed, and all smiles supplied. Doors open, courts closed, and all smiles supplied. When the time comes for me to hold that child to my breast, will I feel only love, or will my heart hold doubt? Will I too see his face like I do when in rest? His whiskey fire breath with his hand on my mouth. Oh, whiskey fire breath with one hand on my mouth. A lone car stopped beside me as I walked home that night. I ignored all the warnings, a young lady.
Mr. Jeff Lang. Well, it's been a quiet week in Lake Wobegon, Minnesota, my hometown, out there on the edge of the prairie. It's been cold, but then this is Minnesota, so nobody need to write a book about that. My winter in the Midwest. Go talk about it on Oprah, I don't think so. No big thing. It's been kind of an easy winter, if the truth be told. This cold weather caused a little problem with our phones up in Lake Wobegon, so that you'd reach for your phone, and instead of getting a dial tone, you would get a little radio show there. You'd hear somebody else's conversation, and they couldn't hear you, just in cold weather. You'd pick up a phone to call your mother, and you'd hear the pastor talking to a woman about her husband and tell her that sometimes the best thing to do is just to let time pass. Never heard him say that in church before. What gospel does that come from anyway? Blessed are the time passers. Pick up the phone to call a friend, and there's Darlene from the Chatterbox talking to a man. You don't recognize his voice. And he's asking her, "What do you look like?" And she says, "Well, I'm tall, kind of broad in the shoulders." Tall is not the first word that would come to mind to describe Darlene. She's broad a lot of other places than in the shoulders. He says, "What do you do for a living?" She says, "Well, I manage a restaurant." A restaurant. The Chatterbox Cafe has become a restaurant. Dorothy would be so surprised to hear that she has a manager. They say that this is more likely to happen with your telephone if your vacuum cleaner is running. And I swear you could walk up the street and hear a lot of vacuums just running, not going anywhere, just running. Lutheran Church finished 2002 in the black. The annual meeting was held on Sunday. They always hold it on Super Bowl Sunday to give themselves an incentive to finish. All the committee reports were read and approved, and the meeting went very smoothly. very smoothly now that Val Tollefson has stepped down as president. He's kind of an old grumbler, owly man. Always liked you to know what sacrifices he was making to serve as president of the board and wanted people to appreciate him more. And they caught him in an owly mood, the board did, and suggested maybe it was time to give up his burden, and he did step down, and Arlene Bunsen stepped into the presidency, and suddenly everything was easy. Everything was simple. About the same time as Virginia Inquist stepped down as the president of the Ladies' Circle, she had been the queen mother of the Ladies' Circle, running the whole show and supervising a whole bevy of assistant queens, women in their 70s, who ran that kitchen for years, and they ran up a tremendous surplus in their bank account because they refused to spend money on anything until finally the appliances were so old that some of the women suggested maybe they should wear period costumes from the 30s while they were cooking. And I tell you, if you were under the age of 60, you could hardly grate cheese without supervision in the presence of these queens who ran that kitchen for all those years. And then finally Virginia relented, and she allowed them to spend some money on new things, and they bought 2 new stoves, and they bought a new blender, a big industrial-sized blender, and they bought a 15-gallon coffee maker, and they bought a dishwasher the size of a compact car. And suddenly, overnight, in one weekend, the old regime faded away because all of these appliances came with keypads and codes and complicated manuals and PIN numbers. And the old ladies just faded away. And the new regime came in and took over. Coffee, of course, is essential to Lutherans. The Holy Ghost comes in many forms, and caffeine is one of them. So it's an essential part of the faith. And the woman who now runs that coffee maker and runs it easily, I mean, for those old ladies, running that coffee maker, the new one, is like piloting a 747. But this, Frances works this very easily. She was thinking about what an easy meeting this was, how little rancor and wrangling there was over items in the budget. She's had a good year. After years of torturing herself about her weight, she just went out and lost some weight. She went to the gym. She's been telling herself for years she ought to do it, so she went and discovered that she liked it. And then she decided she wouldn't eat bread, and she wouldn't eat desserts, and she wouldn't put cream in her coffee anymore, and she would follow some very simple rules. Never eat standing up. Never eat except with a knife and a fork. Stay away from white things. Eat when you're hungry. And she started to get slim, and she started to think about maybe she'd like to go back to school and study management. She's worked under a lot of managers. She thought she could do that. Get a new job and get out of that dead-end job she's got up at the high school, working as an assistant in the principal's office part-time. Her son went off to Toronto, up to Canada. Boy, she's been praying over and worrying over for years. Within just a couple of years, he got himself a good job managing a condominium, has an apartment up there. He calls her on the phone. They talk as if they're friends. How easy this is. How easy, how unexpected. Her husband, so much nicer now. He's seen that she's made all these changes in her life, and he doesn't want to be one of them. He realizes now that when you sit down to a table with your wife, you are not a passenger on a bus. You are a partner, and you must talk. And you must be interesting. You must court her endlessly. How easy it is. how unprepared we are when it does become easy, and it does sometimes become easy. There's so little in literature about this. Parts of life when it becomes easy. Certainly very little in the literature of Lutherans about ease and comfort. But it does happen. It's why people stay married, is in hopes that it will happen to them, and it can, of course. That after years of wrangling, after years of those small, mean arguments about money, and those terrible arguments in which you compete to see who can be silent the longest, you can come out onto this wonderful flat place and coast, and suddenly things are easy again, and children who you prayed over and labored over and yelled at and said terrible things to can somehow turn out, and you don't worry about them anymore. They start to worry about you. You go to the Super Bowl party after the Lutheran church meeting, and you realize that you don't have to watch the bowl. That's a separate job. That's for other people. You send them down to the basement to do that. You don't have to do that. You can have a good time. And how easy it is when you send those old football fans down to the basement, and the rest of you sit up around the fire just to talk about anything you want to, as adults do. Send all that aging testosterone down to the basement. And all those men who get sullen if the conversation should drift from the ruts that they enjoy, men who don't care for off-road conversation, send them downstairs. You sit around the fire with your near and your dear, and you have the barbecued chicken wings and the 7-layer salad, and you have those wonderful beans, and you have that lemon cheesecake, and you drink coffee, and you drink coffee, and coffee, and coffee. And of course, you can't talk about this, about how easy it can be, because it makes people uneasy. We worry that if we say this, the evil eye will come and get us, and some bridge abutment will reach out for us, and we will pay a terrible price. But it's true. It's the small, dark, warm secret of northern people that winter can be awfully easy. When so much is closed down, what remains can be so wonderful, sitting in a dark room in the evening with people you love around a fire. People down south suffer terribly. In the winter, they freeze to death at 30 and 40 degrees. They don't dare drive because there's a freezing rain out there, and they don't know how to drive on ice, and they just sit huddled around their tiny, inadequate heaters. Their phone lines break under the weight of the ice. They're desperate and depressed. And they don't dare go down the basement because poisonous spiders and snakes are down in the basement in cold weather, so they cannot do their laundry for months at a time. They have no social lives at all. And it's very sweet and easy up in the north. We sit around a fire and we revert to a kind of a cave life, a kind of a burrow with all of our other dogs. We just lie in a pile and we talk our old dog language to each other, and there are long silences, and somebody gets up and tosses another log on the fire, and we're all thinking the same thing, that after all that struggle and all that failure and all those opportunities that we missed, this is pretty darned easy. This is pretty darned good. You can sit there in the dark and look at the flames, and you can say, as we say in Minnesota, this isn't the worst. This is not the worst. I've seen a lot worse than this, and I probably will again, but this is not all bad. A guy could get used to this. That's the news from Lake Wobegon, where all the women are strong, all the men are good looking, and all the children are above average. Mr. Pat down here back there on the guitar, tune called Slapstick, Dale Mendenhall, and Mr. Rich Dworsky. And right now it's time here to come in with a feature that you've been waiting all this show to tune into. Yes, Attila Snow Machines. It's a thriller to ride an Attila. Brings you now
buzzOff, the annual Radio Sound Effects Championship.
With the two top radio sound effects men in America today competing for valuable prizes.
Including this Palomino pony.
Yes, and this 14-horsepower hair dryer.
This home karaoke machine with your choice of jazz standards or hip-hop.
All right. Yo. And right now, our challenger from New York's Upper West Side of New York City, a native of the state of Georgia, a man who's walked the floor late at night holding small people in his arms and burped them, a man in the black suit here, the black shirt, the white tie, and the snap brim fedora, Mr. Fred Newman, New York City. Welcome, Fred, and here from St. Paul, Minnesota, our defending champion, winner for many years of radio's coveted Wally Award, a former second runner-up in the Minnesota Old Time Broadcasters Golf Classic, the radio voice of the Ramsey County Poultry Growers Association, in his blue Land's End casual pullover and the chino pants and the white crew socks and the moccasins, Mr. Tom Keefe. All right, gentlemen.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Start your engines. Gentlemen, right. You're all set, okay?
Yes,
and
ready.
Your seconds here.
Ready?
Mr. Newman's publicity person
Yes, we're
here.
ready.
Okay,
Yes,
fine. Okay, here's how the game is played. The judges' decisions are final. Needless to say, the judges are going to signify a correct answer with the horn. There you go. An incorrect answer. All right. And when time is about to run out, you will hear the bell, and the bonus opportunity is... Okay, you all set?
Ready? Oh, yeah.
All right, good.
All right, round one. Basic sounds.
Basic sounds. Sounds known to all professional sound effects men. We're going to flip a coin. Right now, there it goes. Big coin. Whoa, look at it. All right, it's heads. And so Mr. Newman is going to go first. And after we spin the wheel of sound for your category, there you go. Turn that. All right, and the category is...
Things that are yellow or standing next to yellow things.
Things that are yellow or standing next to yellow things. Mr. Newman, if you're ready, set the clock there. And you'll have 30 seconds to do 10 effects as I name them. Go. Yellow helicopter, a yellow-toothed elephant, a Curtiss biplane, a mixer, an old yeller dog, okay, stomach growl, all right, yellow liquid dripping, yellow fish in an aquarium. Very good, okay. 1957 Pontiac, yellow trim, and a parrot. 10 effects in 30 seconds. Very good. Very good. Wonderful. Okay. On to you now, our champion, Mr. Tom Keith. If you will, reach over to your right, spin the wheel of sound. And the category is...
The same things as Mr. Newman has done.
Same things as Mr. Newman has done is your category. You've set the clock here. Going to have 30 seconds if you are set. The helicopter. The elephant. All right, a Curtiss biplane. There it goes. A mixer. All right, a coon dog. Stomach growl. Liquid dripping. Good. Yellow fish in the aquarium. 1957. And a parrot. Good. And the judge's decision is very good. Okay. Everything good. Congratulations. All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Russell, Mr. Tim Russell, the announcer here on buzzOff, the annual Radio Sound Effects Championships. Tell him, Mr. Russell, what have our contestants won?
Our contestants have won a home washer with a wash cycle, spin cycle, and gentle air fluff for delicate garments, plus a month's supply of tapioca pudding.
All right. That's wonderful. Time to go on now to our playoff round where the judges will pit our two contestants against each other, Mr. Keith first and then Mr. Newman, in a series of 6 double sound effects.
And number 1, a Pekingese under a hairdryer. Mr. Keith. And that's Mr. Newman. Now, number 2, a duck firing a .22 caliber rifle. Mr. Keith. Now, Mr. Newman. All right, number 3, a chimpanzee getting his necktie caught in a computer printer. Mr. Keith. And Mr. Newman. Number 4, a collie with hiccups being fired from a cannon. Mr. Keith. And Fred Newman. Number 5, a bee landing on the nose of a man allergic to bees. All right, Tom Keith. And Fred Newman. And number 6, the expulsion of gas under high pressure from a soprano. Mr. Keith. Mr. Newman.
All right, and the judges are holding up their scorecards now. And Mr. Keith has a 14.45. Mr. Newman, a 15.15. Very close, coming into our final challenge round. Mr. Russell, what have the contestants won so far?
So far, our contestants have won a 35 horsepower riding Power More with air suspension, an old Crow, and a set of automatic doors similar to those seen on Star Trek.
All right, good. Now, gentlemen, we come to our final challenge round in which the two men will gather up all of their resources, come at each other head to head, performing very complicated effects. Kids, don't try these at home. Complicated effects as chosen by our judges' computer on our stage. And these effects will include in each sequence an animal, a vehicle, a weapon of destruction, an electrical device, and escaping gas.
Once again, an animal, a vehicle, a weapon of destruction, an electrical device, and escaping gas.
And once again, a right answer signified by, and a wrong answer, and the bonus try. Okay, Mr. Tom Keith, you ready?
Ready, yeah.
Good. Okay. And the computer is now giving us Mr. Keith's challenge for the championship, printing it out here. Mr. Keith?
Yes.
You will do a moose and an elk on a sonar-equipped skateboard being chased by a wapiti driving a Ferrari, shooting it with a machine gun, and it swerves, hits a chicken coop while the skateboard goes over a cliff, only to be rescued by a giant condor. You have 20 seconds. All right. A tremendous effort from our champion, Mr. Tom Tate.
That's going to be hard to do.
So it comes down to our challenger, Mr. Newman, to go out and give a great performance, try to wrest that trophy from him. Are you ready, sir?
I'm ready, yeah.
Now the computer is giving us Mr. Newman's challenge for the final round of this buzzOff Radio Sound Effects Championship. Mr. Newman, it's printing it out here. And you will do a peacock flying through a fireworks display and avoiding a Cessna to land in a tuba being played by a cappuccino vendor, and it's rescued by a chihuahua leaping from a speeding train who cuts the tuba with a chainsaw while listening to rap music. You have 20 seconds. 20 seconds. We're interrupted by a penalty. Penalty clock's in there signing. Fred Newman penalized for one of the judges is signaling an illegal device. The judges have detected a small buzzer in his left nostril.
Wait, you got it. What?
Buzzes not allowed here, Mr. Newman.
Whoa.
It's going over to the judges. He's arguing with the call right now. There's an argument over there. He's overturning the judge's table. He's got dogs. Mr. Keith's dog is in the fight right now. The two are lobbing eggs at each other. We have a peacock close here. There are fruit bats coming in. There's a chainsaw. Look out. Don't hurt yourself. That's all the time we have for our buzzOff Radio Sound Effects Championship. Thank you, Fred Newman. Mr. Tom Tate. Take it out. So the engineer walks into his boss's office, and the boss is holding this little tiny object up to the light. The engineer says, well, what's that you got? And the boss says, well, I don't know. It kind of looks like plastic, but it feels like rubber. And the engineer says, well, let me take a look at it. So boss hands it over, and the engineer rolls it around between his thumb and his fingers, and he says, yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of viscous, but it's kind of solid. I don't know what this is. Where'd you get it? The boss said, out of my nose. It's our joke show. Coming down to the end here.
Would you like a hospital joke?
Sure, I always love hospital jokes.
I'm here to see a friend who was admitted to the hospital this morning. He was run over by a steamroller.
Oh, yes, sir. He's in room 105, 106, 107, 108, and 109.
The doctor took the man into the examination room and said, I have some good news and some bad news.
Yes.
Oh, no. Give me the good news.
Well, we're going to name a disease after you.
Yes. All right.
I woke up this morning. I felt so bad, I tried to kill myself by taking 1,000 aspirin.
Right.
But after the first two, I felt better.
Of course you did. I love dumb jokes. I love jokes like that housefly joke. I saw the two houseflies in the kitchen today, both of them females. How did I know they were females? Because they were on the phone.
Oh, yeah.
Tell that golf joke. That's Stevie Wonder, Tiger Woods.
Let me see if
they
I
were
can...
talking, and Stevie said, Tiger, I've been having some trouble with my putting.
Yeah, and Tiger said, you play golf, but you're blind.
You're blind.
Yeah, Stevie said, I know, but I just have my caddy put a beeper in the hole, and I do pretty well. In fact, I'm usually under par. Tiger said, hey, we should play around sometime. Stevie said, sure, anytime, pick a night.
So how was your date with Edgar last night, huh? Had to slap his face, I heard.
Oh, yeah, I had to slap his face.
Why, he tried to go too far? Or
No,
what?
I thought he was dead.
Sure, of course. You're going to love those jokes more and more. as you get older, when you get to be my age. There were these two penguins. Have I told that one before? That's our show from the Fitzgerald Theater in St. Paul, made possible tonight by the people at Land's End. We'd love for you to visit them on the web at www.landsend.com, and also by the Sleep Number Bed by Select Comfort. Thanks to our guests tonight, Mr. Outdoor John Kerner and the Sears Catalog, Mr. Jeff Lang here on his guitar. Thanks to our crew at the Fitzgerald and the staff of Prairie Home Productions, Mr. Dale Mendenhall back here on the sax and clarinet, Pat Donahue, Gary Rayner, Arnie Kinsella, Rich Dworsky, and the Shoe Band. Thanks so much to our research team who dug up all these wonderful jokes today, Hillary Rhodes and Russ Ringsack, Melissa Christensen, Dean J. Seal, Tim Russell, Sue Scott, Tom Keith, Fred Newman, thank you so much for coming out from New York. Let's steal away here. Come on, Johnny, sing one last song here.
We're stealing, pretty mama.